but I didn't. I just observed them alighting the plane from the CCTV cameras. I watched my mom, dad, and sister have their passports confiscated the moment they set foot on North Korean soil.
Wait, Eric said he'd meet us here. Where is he?
They took our passports. Why are they looking at us like that?
Follow me now.
Wait, there must be a mistake. We're tourists.
I called the officer and had him put the phone on loudspeaker. The funny thing about North Korea, once you're in, you don't just walk out. Enjoy your new home, family. My family was accused of being Western spies and was put to work in labor camps, harvesting crops, carrying heavy loads like donkeys, and surviving on a basic meal of rice and kimchi. Food scarcity in North Korea is extreme, so I imagine Claire resorted to eating rats just to stay alive. They were treated as slaves, given nothing for their work except meager portions of food and a roof over their heads. My name is Eric, and I've lived a real rags to riches story. And it's less about money and more above love. See, life was never easy for me. While other kids grew up with loving families, mine saw me as nothing more than free labor. From the moment I was old enough to lift a broom, I was given chores that never ended.
I asked you to clean that up 5 minutes ago. What is taking you so long?
I'm sorry, Mom. I was putting the washing away, like you asked.
I don't remember giving you permission to talk back. Your sister doesn't give me this much trouble. She's an angel.
Claire, my older sister, was the golden child. No matter what she did, she was praised. The complete opposite of me. No matter what I did, I was punished. The unfair workload increased as I got older.
We're working to put food on the table for you, and you're here lounging around.
I thought for a moment that my dad was talking to my sister. She was on the sofa, chewing gum and flipping through her phone. I was on my hands and knees, scrubbing a juice stain out of the carpet. Yet, a shadow passed over me, and I looked up. I saw my dad glaring down at me.
I'm not lounging, Dad. Don't talk back to me. I'm telling you to go out and get a job, not give me attitude.
Sorry, Dad. I'll go get a job. So I got my first job as a busboy in a nearby restaurant at 12. When I was 13, my dad complained again.
You're costing us too much money. You can either get another job or you can get out.
I looked over at my sister, who was drinking soda from a luxury brand tumbler, and my mom, who was playing a game on her $1,000 phone. I looked down at the rags I was made to wear. Okay, Dad, I'll get another job. So at 13, I started working at a different restaurant as a chef. It was an up-and-coming place, with only a handful of staff, and all of them were willing to look away from the child labor. But they made up for it in head pats and secret gifts.
You're a hard worker, kid. Here, my son grew out of these jeans last year, and you look the right size. Don't worry, they're barely worn. And look, a designer brand.
They gave me a phone, new clothes, a laptop, headphones, gift cards. After a while, I realized it wasn't guilt over allowing a kid to work at the restaurant, but rather an attempt to make me happy.
You're always so busy, you never get to enjoy anything. So we wanted to help. Let me teach you how to saute onions perfectly.
Life at home was still hard, and my job as a busboy took all my remaining energy. But at the restaurant, I felt like I was part of a family. One day, I came home to an empty bedroom. Mom, where's all my stuff?
We sold it. I can't believe you were being so selfish.
You sold it? You have no right. I work 2 jobs, pay your bills, and make sure there is food on the table, which I buy and cook, while you waste everything away on luxuries and things for yourself.
Go to your room, you brat.
She always would forget that if I were sent to my room, I couldn't work. So within half an hour, I was back in the kitchen, scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush.
Why are you so slow? Do you think I have all day to wait for you to finish? Clean it properly.
Yes, Mom.
I don't know why we even had you. At least your sister doesn't make my life harder.
Yeah, loser. Maybe if you weren't so useless, Mom wouldn't have to yell at you all the time.
Boy, make yourself useful and bring me another beer.
Taking even a second away from a task was a risk. I looked at the unfinished floors, shoulders hunching in indecision. Now, there was no such thing as rest. I would wake up at dawn to make breakfast while my parents and sister slept in. If the food was even slightly overcooked, I wouldn't eat that day. My paycheck? Never saw a cent. My mother controlled every dime, and my father made sure I knew my place. One day, after back-to-back 8-hour shifts, I dragged myself home, ready to collapse. I handed over my wage envelope to my parents as usual, but my sister snatched it before I had the chance.
Good. This should be enough to pay for my new phone case.
That's for the electricity bill. It didn't matter though, because within a minute, she was out of the door with my hard-earned money. Dad came in the room just after she left and held out his hand.
Give me the money then.
Claire took it. My dad smacked my head.
How are we supposed to pay the bills, you idiot boy? No food for a week.
But it was Claire. She took the money.
You ungrateful brat. After all we do for you, you can't even buy your sister something small?
All you do for me? I pay for everything. I work 2 jobs, I cook, I clean. Once again, my dad hit me.
Watch your mouth, boy. You don't speak to your mother like that. Maybe you need to learn some respect.
Respect? That was a joke. No matter how much I did, it was never enough. They treated me like a slave, a servant in my own home. And if I ever dared to speak up, well, let's just say I learned to keep my mouth shut. A few months later, we were sitting at the dinner table and my sister decided to taunt me. While they enjoyed their feast, I was allowed only plain rice.
You can eat more when you earn more. Right now, this is what you deserve.
This steak is so good. Oh wait, you wouldn't know.
I kept telling myself it would get better, that one day I'd escape. But I never expected the betrayal that came next. Considering everything I did for the family, it didn't even make sense. I was invited on a business trip with the restaurant. This business trip was all paid for, and I would be paid a regular hourly wage for every moment I was out of the house. My parents didn't want me to go, but my boss spoke to them.
It's a good opportunity to Eric. You wouldn't want him to miss out on something so important, would you?
They eventually agreed, especially after they heard how much I would get paid. What was the best week of my whole childhood ended in gut-wrenching misery. When I returned home, everything was gone. The house was empty. All the belongings I'd left behind were nowhere to be found, and neither were my family. I heard from a neighbor that they'd won the lottery and decided to leave their leech son behind. I was left with nothing. But instead of breaking down, I decided to keep going on the road I was on. The money I earned between my 2 jobs went further, now that I only had myself to support. I actually dropped a few hours as a busboy to focus on school. When I graduated, the restaurant was flourishing, and they paid for me to go to the local culinary college. By the time I had left, I was a famous chef. We were booked 2 years in advance. As a team, we were the richest people in the city. My boss was more like a dad than my actual dad, and the manager was like my mom. The rest were my big sisters and brothers. We were a family, and no matter how hard we had to work, we were always happy. We started to get celebrity clientele, and that's when the TV show hosts started clamoring for interviews.
Eric, your story is incredible. From rock bottom to multi-millionaire, what kept you going?
Pain is a great motivator. When you've lost everything, you realize the only way is up. When I realized my family were gone, having left me behind with nothing, I knew I had to work to keep myself above water. Fortunately, it was the family of sweat, not blood, that kept me afloat. I'm forever grateful to the people that took me in and taught me everything I know. The audience claps. Success tasted sweet, and I made sure to enjoy every moment of it. I wanted to ensure that my blood family never had the opportunity to take credit for what I had managed to achieve. To celebrate, I took myself to a restaurant that I knew my family had favored, but had refused to take me to.
Mr. Eric, your Wagyu steak.
You know, years ago, I was told I wasn't worthy of food like this. Funny how things change. Years passed, and I became wealthier than I ever imagined. I had power now. But my family? They had nothing. They'd never learned to budget because they'd always had a steady income from me. Soon, their lottery winnings were gone. My mother called me crying.
Eric, please, we need you. We made mistakes, but we're still your family. We're drowning in debt, and we have nowhere else to go. Family means everything. You should be putting us first.
You had somewhere to go when you stole everything from me, didn't you? Tell me, Mother, where did you run off to after you ruined my life?
Son, we weren't thinking straight. We thought we were doing what was best for the family.
The family? You mean yourselves. But don't worry, I'm not like you. I won't turn my back on family. Come home. I'll take care of everything. The next week, my family were on the doorstep of my mansion, wearing ragged clothes and looking sad. I know you've had it rough, so I planned a little getaway for us. A family vacation. A fresh start. I handed them their tickets and suitcases.
Oh my god, first-class tickets, you really are doing well, Eric Nee.
Only the best for my family. I promised them I'd meet them at the airport, but I didn't. I just observed them alighting the plane from the CCTV cameras. I watched my mom, dad, and sister have their passports confiscated the moment they set foot on North Korean soil.
Wait, Eric said he'd meet us here. Where is he?
They took our passports. Why are they looking at us like that?
Follow me now.
Wait, there must be a mistake. We're tourists.
I called the officer and had him put the phone on loudspeaker. The funny thing about North Korea, once you're in, you don't just walk out. Enjoy your new home, family. My family was accused of being Western spies and was put to work in labor camps, harvesting crops, carrying heavy loads like donkeys, and surviving on a basic meal of rice and kimchi. Food scarcity in North Korea is extreme, so I imagine Claire resorted to eating rats just to stay alive. They were treated as slaves, given nothing for their work except meager portions of food and a roof over their heads. Later, we heard through news agencies in South Korea that Claire attempted to escape. She was caught and sentenced to a firing squad. As for my parents, they were eventually forced to work in state propaganda films, where they had to pretend to be happy, knowing the whole world was watching, yet being completely unable to escape. I never looked back. They deserved every second of their suffering. And me? I finally had peace, knowing they were paying for every ounce of pain they had put me through. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment. They escorted me to my work.
Do you need us to explain to your boss why you're late?
No, sir. Thank you, but I'm sure when I explain, he'll understand.
You did a good job today, lad. You should be proud.
The police officer left, and I felt warm inside. I was proud, but then I looked at my watch and swore. I was late. Not terribly late, just 15 minutes. But that was enough. My boss, Richard, was waiting, arms crossed, sneering like he had been looking for an excuse.
You're late, John. Again.
Sir, I was helping someone who got into an accident.
Do I look like I care? This company doesn't run on sob stories. You think you're special? You're not. You're late, and that comes with consequences.
I clenched my fists. I wanted to yell, to explain, but I knew it wouldn't matter. Richard thrived on making people feel powerless.
You're fired.
I stared. I was struck dumb. I looked around the office and saw everyone glaring at my boss, but they were as powerless as I was. Richard followed me to my desk and watched with his arms crossed and with a nasty smile as I packed up my desk. Then, I was gone, unemployed and miserable. My name is John, and I'm about to tell you the best story about revenge. It all started when I was in my car, driving to work. It was just another Monday morning. The kind where you drag yourself out of bed, run on too little sleep, and pray the coffee at work isn't as terrible as the boss. You see, my boss was on a permanent power trip. He likes to pointlessly order around his employees, making them do work they're not supposed to be doing, and humiliating them by shouting at them in the middle of the office so everyone can watch. He walks around the office to try and find problems, and when he doesn't find one, he makes them up. I think he just likes reminding people who is in charge. Just yesterday, he picked on our newest colleague.
Please, sir, I did as you asked. Exactly to the letter. I don't understand why you're taking a day's pay away.
Don't question me. Do you want to lose your job as well as your pay?
But sir, I didn't do anything wrong. Is it because I wouldn't go on a date with you?
Shut up. Go sit in the corner if you're going to talk back like a petulant toddler. Go on.
Jessica stood in the corner, shoulders shaking as she cried. Everyone's anger at Richard rose impossibly higher. The worst part, she was still later fired. At lunch later in the day, I saw Richard throw his soup at the cafeteria worker.
Disgusting. Clean that up. You make me sick.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. He stood over the worker as he mopped up the mess and prepared a new bowl of soup for my boss.
That's a day's wages you've lost there, you embarrassing piece of work. And if you thought he couldn't get worse, you'd be wrong. At the end of the day, he spat on the valet and asked why his car was still filthy, even though it was sparkling clean. Don't expect to be getting paid today if you're going to stand around being lazy. Safe to say, I was not looking forward to getting into work. But I needed the job. I needed the experience. I was hoping to move up in the company and make a name for myself. But every new day made me realize that it wasn't possible. I had no idea my life was about to take a wild turn. I was on my way to work, driving through the pouring rain, when I saw an accident up ahead. A car had skidded and slammed into a pole. Smoke rose from the hood, and people just stood there, gawking but doing nothing. That's when I saw her. A frail, elderly woman trapped in the driver's seat, shaking. My car screeched to a stop, and I jumped out without hesitation. I rushed over and pulled open the door. "Ma'am, are you okay? Can you move?" She looked up at me with wide, terrified eyes. Her wrist was bleeding, her breathing was unsteady, and her gaze was unfocused. I wasn't a doctor, but suspected she had a concussion. I helped her out, shielding her from the rain with my jacket as the ambulance arrived. She gripped my hand tightly before they took her away, her eyes filled with gratitude.
Thank you, dear boy. I hope one day I can reward you for the kindness you've shown today.
Goodness, no. Don't worry, everyone deserves help. I don't need a reward for doing what anyone should have done. I watched the ambulance drive away, and then I stayed behind until the police took my details and they towed her car away. They ensured I was okay, and I promised them I was. They escorted me to my work. Do you need us to explain to your boss why you're late? No, sir. Thank you, but I'm sure when I explain, he'll understand. You did a good job today, lad. You should be proud. The police officer left, and I felt warm inside. I was proud, but then I looked at my watch and swore. I was late. Not terribly late, just 15 minutes. But that was enough. My boss, Richard, was waiting, arms crossed, sneering like he had been looking for an excuse. You're late, John. Again. Sir, I was helping someone who got into an accident. Do I look like I care? This company doesn't run on sob stories. You think you're special? You're not. You're late, and that comes with consequences. I clenched my fists. I wanted to yell, to explain, but I knew it wouldn't matter. Richard thrived on making people feel powerless. You're fired. I stared. I was struck dumb. I looked around the office and saw everyone glaring at my boss, but they were as powerless as I was. Richard followed me to my desk and watched with his arms crossed and with a nasty smile as I packed up my desk. Then, I was gone, unemployed and miserable. I sat at home and stared at the blank TV as I ruminated over how I would pay for my rent. Just like that. No discussion, no consideration for the 5 years I'd given to this place. I was shoved out like trash. Days passed. I was angry and humiliated. I spent hours replaying the moment in my head, thinking about how unfair it all was. I applied to jobs, but nothing came through fast enough. Bills piled up. I was drowning. Then something insane happened. I got a call.
John, this is Eleanor Whitmore.
The name didn't register at first, until she said,
You helped me during the accident. I wanted to thank you personally.
It hit me. The woman I had helped. The woman whose life I probably saved. Good morning, ma'am. How are you feeling now?
Much better, dear boy. Actually, I have something curious to share with you. See, I spoke with the police and they told me your name. I asked my son to help me find you. You young ones know all about this new technology stuff, and it turns out you work for his company.
She wasn't just any elderly lady. She was the mother of our company's CEO. Wow, that's a wild coincidence. I'm glad to hear you're okay. But actually, I don't work there anymore. I was fired.
Is that so? 1 second?
I waited for a few minutes, but then she came back on the line.
My son assures me that you're still employed and being paid.
I explained to her everything that had happened on the day I helped her, and she asked me to come into the office to meet with her son. In the lobby of the building, I saw Richard, and he went bright red. What are you doing here? Get out! I fired you! Mr. Whitmore will see you now. Richard turned to the security guard in confusion. I didn't plan to meet the CEO, not you, John. That redness in Richards' face bled out and left behind just white. I went upstairs and was great by the old lady and the CEO. We talked for hours, and they started gathering evidence.
Jessica was called up and given a job. Then, just after the clock struck 3, we all went home with a plan in place for the next day. I went into work and sat at my desk like nothing was the matter. Jessica came in not long after and winked at me. When Richard arrived, 10 minutes late, he saw me and exploded. "Get out!"
Actually, the CEO has specifically requested he keep his job. But you, Richard, you'll be lucky if you get paid another day.
What are you talking about?
Go stand in the corner.
You don't tell me what to do. Actually, she does. Go stand in the corner. Again, Richard went pale. But after the CEO pointed out the corner, Richard shuffled over and stood with his back to the room. All of his employees watched and snickered. Richard kept trying to sneak a look at the room, but the CEO barked for him to turn back to the wall. After about 30 minutes, the CEO and I finished our whispered conversation. "Richard, come here now." Richard came to stand in front of the CEO, who was much taller than him. The CEO shoved a file into Richard's hands. "This is evidence. You've been skimming money, Richard, stealing wages from employees, harassing people, running this company like your personal kingdom. You're done." Richard's eyes went wide. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Security was already moving. The CEO could have fired him, but he did better. "You should know that you're not going to be hired anywhere ever again. We're your best bet. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to come into the office every day and stand in the corner for an hour, just like you made your employees do. Then, you'll go to the cafeteria and serve your employees their food and clean up after them. Then, you'll be down in the car park, washing the cars for your employees. Oh, sorry, they're not your employees anymore. They're your bosses. And if you refuse, I'll take everything to the police. And you know what that means. You'll be going away for a very long time." His punishment started straight away. He stood in the corner for an hour while people laughed at him. All the employees in the building came by to laugh at him. Then, he went to the cafeteria to put on a hairnet and apron and serve soup to his former employees. At the end of the day, he was put into overalls and set to wash all the cars before the end of the day. When I went down to my car later, I saw him washing my car. Good work, Richard. Don't miss a spot. And let me tell you, revenge has never tasted sweeter. But that wasn't the end of it. One day, I found him sitting alone on a bench outside the office, his uniform stained with grease from the cafeteria. His hands trembled as he lit a cigarette, a far cry from the arrogant tyrant who once controlled my career. Tough day? He looked up at me, the fire in his eyes long gone. There was no fight left in him. Only regret. Only shame. You think this is funny? No, Richard. I think it's justice. I walked away, leaving him with the life he had built for himself. A life of humiliation, regret, and consequences. And I was just getting started on my new job, personally recommended by Eleanor Whitmore herself. Some people say karma isn't real, but trust me, I've seen it firsthand. The next day, the cafeteria was buzzing with laughter. Employees who once feared Richard now openly mocked him. He had no power left, no authority, just a cheap uniform and the daily grind of washing dishes. One day, the CEO decided to pay a visit. The entire company watched as he walked into the cafeteria, elegance and authority radiating from him. Richard looked up, and for a moment, hope flickered in his eyes. Maybe he would show him mercy. He didn't. You had everything, Richard, and you wasted it.
Now you'll serve the people you once tormented.
And with that, he handed him his tray. He had no choice but to take it. The cafeteria roared with laughter. The once mighty boss was now a servant. Weeks passed. The humiliation only grew. Employees accidentally spilled their drinks near him. He had to mop it up. They made special requests, extra seasoning, special napkins, making him scramble to serve them. And then there was the car washing. Employees started leaving extra dirty cars just for him. Mud, paint, gum on the seats, anything to make his suffering last a little longer. One day, as I walked past him scrubbing the wheels of my car, I couldn't resist. Richard, I think you missed a spot. And for the first time in his life, Richard didn't sneer, didn't roll his eyes. He just nodded. He was defeated. Some might say I should feel bad for him, but I don't. Because karma always wins. Richard didn't subscribe. Look where that got him. Don't be like Richard. Subscribe. I was taken down to the station, where they showed me security footage of someone who looked exactly like me robbing a bank. I knew instantly that it was Leighton. No one else looked that much like me. I know how this looks, but it wasn't me. I have a twin brother. He must have done this and made it look like it was me. When did this happen?
We get that a lot. It's your story against the footage, Thomas, and the footage doesn't lie. Not to mention that we found a wallet that you dropped on the scene. In it were a few items like your business card, a library card with your name, and a few other items that listed your address and name. As for when it happened, it was earlier this evening.
Well, there you go. I was home all night. I got home after work at 5 p.m., and I had friends over all night starting from just before 6 p.m. to about midnight. Plus, I don't own a gun, and I definitely don't have any money. I'm telling you that guy on the screen is my twin.
Uh-huh. Sure it is. Listen, you better start talking sense or we're going to bust your lip open.
Growing up with Leighton was like living in a never-ending nightmare. On the outside, we looked exactly the same. Same brown hair, same blue eyes, even the same dimple on the left cheek when we smiled. But on the inside, we couldn't have been more different. Leighton was the golden child, the one who never seemed to get into trouble, at least not when anyone was watching. It didn't help that he was very smart. He was the kind of person that never needed to study and always aced every test he ever took. Add on top of that he was on almost every sports team at our school, and you can understand why my parents adored him. Compared to him, I was seen as a failure, even though my grades were always good. However, I lacked his talent for playing sports. I just never had the coordination. I think this favoritism that my parents heaped onto him created an attitude of superiority. He felt invincible, and he had this sly way of shifting blame, of slipping out of trouble like a snake shedding its skin. And for as long as I could remember, I was the one left holding the bag because I was an easy scapegoat on which he could shift that blame onto.
Thomas, get down here.
I was 10 years old at the time, and Leighton had just broken a vase in the living room. I hadn't even been in the room, but I knew how this was going to go. I made my way down the stairs, my stomach churning as I saw Leighton standing by the broken vase, looking innocent as ever. Mom had her hands on her hips, her face red with anger.
Do you want to tell me what happened?
It wasn't me. I was upstairs the whole time. Leighton was the one in here.
Thomas, why are you lying? You know you broke it.
I'm not lying. He's clearly the one that broke it.
Thomas, I'm disappointed in you. It's one thing to break something, but it's another to try to blame your brother. You need to apologize.
I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her, to make her see what was really happening. But I knew it wouldn't do any good. Leighton always managed to twist things just enough to make himself look innocent and make me look guilty. It was a talent, really, one he had honed to perfection. I wanted to somehow convince her that I was innocent, but I knew it was useless. Every time Leighton would blame me for something, he had a way of always making it look like someone else was to blame. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful in the future. Leighton gave me a small, smug smile as soon as Mom turned away, and I knew he'd won again. This became the pattern of our lives. He'd do something wrong. I'd try to call him out, and no one would believe me. As we got older, it only got worse. In high school, Leighton stole money from Dad's wallet. I watched him do it, clear as day. But when I told Dad, Leighton twisted the story around so that it looked like I was the one with sticky fingers. He even planted some of the money in my room, where Dad found it later that night.
Thomas, I never thought you'd do something like this. Taking money from your own family? What were you thinking?
Dad, I know it looks bad, but I swear that I didn't do it. Leighton put the money there. He's the one who stole it, not me.
I'm tired of the excuses, Thomas. I'm done talking about this. You really need to smarten up. You always blame Leighton for things. When are you going to grow up?
Leighton stood behind him, smirking, knowing he'd gotten away with it again. I'd never felt so alone. Honestly, I think Leighton got some kind of sick entertainment from framing me. It was almost as if he felt compelled to do bad things just so he could blame me and get me in trouble. It wasn't until after high school that things took a darker turn. Leighton and I went our separate ways, or so I thought. I moved to a nearby city, got a job, and tried to carve out a life for myself away from him and our parents. I still saw the family on holidays, but I did my best to keep my distance from Leighton. But Leighton had other plans. One night, I was woken up by the sound of loud banging on my door. I stumbled out of bed, rubbing my eyes, and opened the door to find two police officers standing there with serious expressions on their faces. "Are you Thomas Morgan?" Yeah, that's me. What's this about?" "Huh, for someone that planned such an elaborate crime, you're pretty dumb. You're under arrest, dirtbag." Before I could even process what was happening, they jumped on top of me and were jerking my arms behind my back so they could cuff me, read me my rights, and then lead me out to their squad car. I tried to explain, tried to tell them they had the wrong guy, but they wouldn't listen. I was taken down to the station, where they showed me security footage of someone who looked exactly like me robbing a bank. I knew instantly that it was Leighton. No one else looked that much like me. I know how this looks, but it wasn't me. I have a twin brother. He must have done this and made it look like it was me. When did this happen?
We get that a lot. It's your story against the footage, Thomas, and the footage doesn't lie. Not to mention that we found a wallet that you dropped on the scene. In it were a few items like your business card, a library card with your name, and a few other items that listed your address and name. As for when it happened, it was earlier this evening.
Well, there you go. I was home all night. I got home after work at 5 p.m., and I had friends over all night starting from just before 6 p.m. to about midnight. Plus, I don't own a gun, and I definitely don't have any money. I'm telling you that that guy on the screen is my twin.
Uh-huh. Sure it is. Listen, you better start talking sense or we're going to bust your lip open. We spoke with your parents, by the way, and they told us that you're an only child. So, just drop this whole evil twin scam and start telling the truth.
After hours of questioning and quite a few physical threats, I was finally allowed to call someone, so I called my friend Jake. Jake and I had been friends since college. He was one of the friends that had come over. I knew that he would vouch for me. He showed up a few hours later, his face pale but determined.
They won't believe me. They think I'm making it up. But listen, I know it wasn't you, and I know that it was your brother. We'll figure it out, man. I know Leighton. He's done stuff like this to you before, but this time, we're not gonna let him get away with it.
It's crazier than that, though. They won't even believe that I have a twin brother. They spoke with my parents, and they told the cops that I'm an only child. Why would they do that?
To protect Leighton, of course. They've always favored him. I'm sorry, Thomas, but they're not good people.
I know. And after this, I'm completely cutting them all out of my life. Listen, I need you to grab as many photos from my past as possible and bring them here along with whatever else you can dig up. Over the next few days, Jake and some of our friends worked tirelessly, digging up evidence and writing their own statements saying that I was with them all night. They combed through social media and their own personal photo albums and brought in hundreds of photos and even their school yearbooks that showed both my brother and I. The police were baffled by what they were shown. They even managed to track down security footage from a gas station near the bank, footage that showed Leighton getting into his car just after the robbery. They brought it to the police, who finally started to take my story seriously. Eventually, they found more evidence. Text messages from Leighton bragging about getting his brother in trouble to one of his friends. The police then went to the gas station and found that Leighton had paid for the gas using money he had stolen from the bank. Since his license plate was visible in the video, it helped to show that it was him and not me. Combined with all the evidence that my friends helped to gather, and the police were no longer convinced that I was involved, they finally believed that I was telling the truth. It was enough to clear my name, and I was finally released. But I wasn't done yet. I knew Leighton would keep doing this kind of thing until he faced some serious consequences. Part of me knew that he would be in serious trouble from the bank robbery, but I also knew that he needed to face a much more severe punishment. Otherwise, he wouldn't learn a lesson, and he would no doubt do something similar once he got out of prison. And I wanted this to be the end of it. A few days later, I went to see Leighton at his house across town. He was smug as ever, lounging on his couch like he hadn't just tried to ruin my life.
Thomas, I didn't expect to see you here. Heard you got out. Guess they let you off easy.
You tried to frame me for assault, Leighton. This isn't some prank you can just laugh off. You could have destroyed my life.
I just figured it'd be fun. You've always been the goody two-shoes. Thought I'd show you what it's like to be on the other side.
You're insane. You've always been insane. But it's over now. I've got enough evidence to put you away, Leighton, and I'm going to make sure you never get the chance to pull this crap again." He paled slightly, the confidence slipping from his face. "You wouldn't. We're family, Thomas. Family doesn't turn their backs on one another." "Oh, I would, without so much as a second guess. This is just the beginning. I'll take it all to the cops. Every single thing you've done to me over the years, I've got it very well documented." "Come on, Thomas. We're brothers. You can't do this. Surely you'll go to the cops and say it was all just a really big misunderstanding." "Brothers? You've never been my brother. You've always been a parasite, feeding off of everyone around you. I'm done with you." For once, Leighton had no smart reply. I turned and walked out, leaving him standing there, speechless. After I exposed Leighton, he was arrested. The cops found a lot more once they started digging, including some shady business dealings and a history of petty crimes. But the worst part was my parents' reaction. They didn't call to ask if I was okay. Instead, they demanded to know why I'd betrayed Leighton. I went to see them, sitting down with them one last time. They looked at me, disappointment clear on their faces.
How could you do this, Thomas? Leighton is your brother. You should be protecting him, not tearing him down.
I shook my head, feeling a strange sense of peace. "You never believed me, not once. You let him ruin my life over and over again, and you never lifted a finger to stop him. And then you had the audacity to help him frame me for a crime? Leighton was always the one who needed more help. We just did what was best for him. You were always the problem child. He has so much more potential than you." "What about what was best for me? Some parents you two are. As far as I'm concerned, he's always been the problem child. You know what? I hate you. I hate all three of you so much that I never want to see any of you ever again." They started to protest, but I was already heading for the door. As a result, the police created a dossier on Leighton, and it was enough to send him away to prison for 18 years. After my parents seeing him as the golden child and incapable of doing anything wrong, it felt good to finally make them see reality. And seeing Leighton in a bright orange prison jumpsuit felt so incredibly satisfying. Sadly, my parents were only slapped with a heavy fine for lying to the police and giving a false statement. I had hoped that since they obstructed the police, that they would go to jail as well, but the court took pity on them. After that, I was free of Leighton, and now I was free from my parents too. I had my friends, my own life, and I was finally out from under the shadow of a family that had never really cared about me. As I said I would, I cut them out of my life and never spoke to them ever again. I later heard that my mom became depressed and eventually had a stroke, leaving my dad to care for her while also working to support them. Sometimes, I see comments from them under my social media posts saying things like, "We're sorry," or "We love you," but I never reply. I did hear that Leighton had a rough time in prison. He kept picking fights with other inmates and making a target on his back. He was constantly beaten by inmates. He spent a lot of time in the infirmary. Making the decision to go no contact made me feel a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time, I was truly alone, and I had never felt more free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.
This isn't the place for this. You shouldn't be here. I'd love for you to wheel yourself out while you're still early. Soon the camera will capture someone with a disability at my wedding. Remember, this is a one-day event, and I don't want people with disabilities in my wedding pictures or videos.
Amanda, I'm your best friend. I deserve to be here.
Lucy, this isn't about you. I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable? Why? Because I'm disabled? Amanda didn't respond, but her silence spoke volumes. Tears immediately gathered in my eyes. I can't believe you, after everything I did for you. You put me in this situation, Amanda, and I never held you responsible for it. You're being so unfair right now.
Enough! You're making a scene! Security! Come take this cripple lady out of here, please!
2 men immediately approached us and began wheeling me away. I screamed and cried, but Amanda didn't change her mind. I met Amanda when we were both 8 years old. She had just moved into the neighborhood and was playing in the yard next door. I had been sitting on my porch, shy and unsure if I should go over and say hi, but Amanda ran straight up to me.
Hey, I'm Amanda. Want to come play?
That day was the start of a friendship that felt like it could conquer anything. We were inseparable through middle school, high school, and even college. I trusted Amanda with everything. She was the sister I never had. It was the summer after our college graduation when my life changed forever. Amanda had begged me to go on a road trip with her.
Come on, Lucy. We deserve this. Just one last adventure before adulting takes over. You're always so boring. Let's loosen up a little. Come on.
I was hesitant. I had just started a new job and didn't want to take time off, but Amanda had a way of convincing me.
You'll regret it if you don't. I swear, I have everything planned out. All you have to do is come with me to have fun.
I ended up agreeing and we left. On the second day of our trip, Amanda wanted to take a scenic route.
It's supposed to be beautiful. I know we'll love it.
I didn't argue. I love the mountains too. But Amanda, always distracted, was texting while driving. I'd always warned her about that bad habit of hers, but she never listened. She was extremely stubborn. Amanda, watch the road. Get off your phone before you crash this car.
Relax, Lucy. I've got this. You worry too much. I promise, I got this.
She didn't. The car veered off the road, hitting a tree before flipping over. I blacked out, and when I woke up in the hospital, my life was no longer the same. The accident left me with a spinal cord injury. I couldn't walk anymore. Amanda was devastated, crying beside me every day. I was sad and angry, but I couldn't bear to see my best friend in tears like that. I needed to comfort her, despite needing comfort myself.
I'm so sorry, Lucy. This is all my fault. I never should have even brought you there. I hate myself so much for this. I should have listened to you. I'm so stupid.
I was sad and angry, but I couldn't bear to see my best friend in tears like that. I needed to comfort her, despite needing comfort myself. I don't blame you. It was an accident.
It's not okay. You should get angry. If I was in your shoes, I'd even kick you out of my life forever. I'd never forgive you. So, please get angry, Lucy.
As angry as I wanted to be, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. I needed my best friend more than ever. Her words about being in my shoes were quite worrisome, but I didn't pay attention to it. I concluded that she was just speaking based on all the emotions on her. So I forgave her, even as I struggled to adjust to my new reality. For a while, things were okay. Amanda helped me through rehab and encouraged me to stay positive. But as the years passed, she started to pull away. She wasn't as available as she used to be, and I often felt like an afterthought. Still, I tried to hold on to our friendship. One day, I overheard from a mutual friend that Amanda was getting married. The words hit me like a slap in the face. My best friend, one I'd considered my sister, was planning her wedding, and she hadn't even told me. I called her immediately. Amanda, are you getting married? I just heard from Layla, and I'm so shocked. Is it a prank, or are you really getting married?
Oh yeah? I've been meaning to tell you.
Why didn't you?
I didn't want to stress you out, Lucy. You've been through so much already. I didn't think you'd want to deal with all the chaos of a wedding. You know how it is. Walking around, bumping into people. You can't even walk, Lucy. How could I make you go through such stress?
Her words stung. I tried to argue, but Amanda, as always, had a way of twisting things.
You know I care about you. I just wanted to make things easier for you.
Somehow she made me feel guilty for questioning her. I guess I understand. I'm sorry for not thinking in that direction. You're so thoughtful. When the wedding invitations were sent out, mine was suspiciously absent. Amanda brushed it off when I asked.
We're keeping it small. Just family and a few close friends.
Close friends. The words rang in my ears. Was I not her best friend anymore? I decided to find out for myself. I asked around until a neighbor mentioned the venue. On the day of the wedding, I arrived at the venue, my heart pounding. I hadn't been invited, but I had to know why Amanda was shutting me out. Dressed in a simple gown, I rolled my wheelchair through the garden, trying to blend in. The moment Amanda spotted me, her face turned to one of shock and then anger. She marched over, her white dress flowing behind her.
Lucy, what are you doing here? Did I invite you? How did you even find this place? Lucy, are you stalking me?
What? No. I wanted to see you. You didn't invite me. Why, Amanda? I thought we were best friends.
This isn't the place for this. You shouldn't be here. I'd love for you to wheel yourself out while you're still early. Soon the camera will capture someone with a disability at my wedding. Remember, this is a one-day event, and I don't want people with disabilities in my wedding pictures or videos.
Amanda, I'm your best friend. I deserve to be here.
Lucy, this isn't about you. I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable? Why? Because I'm disabled? Amanda didn't respond, but her silence spoke volumes. Tears immediately gathered in my eyes. I can't believe you, after everything I did for you. You put me in this situation, Amanda, and I never held you responsible for it. You're being so unfair right now.
Enough! You're making a scene! Security! Come take this cripple lady out of here, please!
2 men immediately approached us and began wheeling me away. I screamed and cried, but Amanda didn't change her mind. People turned to stare, some shaking their heads pitifully. Humiliated, I was left outside the venue, tears streaming down my face. The woman I had considered my sister had just thrown me out of her wedding, treating me like a problem she needed to get rid of. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, replaying the events over and over in my head. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever felt, but as the anger boiled within me, so did a sense of resolve. Amanda might have humiliated me, but she wouldn't break me. If she didn't value me, then I would start valuing myself. I didn't need her approval. I didn't need her pity, and I certainly didn't need her as a friend anymore. I wiped my tears. Amanda had shown me who she really was, and I would never forget it. 2 years passed. 2 long years of silence, healing, and moving on. I hadn't spoken to Amanda since the day she humiliated me at her wedding. She had become nothing more than a ghost of my past, a reminder of betrayal so deep, it still stung when I thought about it. But I refused to let her haunt me. I was rebuilding my life, brick by brick, without her. Then, one rainy evening, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I hesitated before wheeling myself over to the door. When I opened it, I froze. Amanda stood there, drenched from the downpour, her face pale and swollen with tears. She looked nothing like the confident, radiant woman I once called my best friend.
Lucy, I know you don't want to see me right now, but I need your help.
For a moment, I couldn't speak. Anger and shock flooded my body. I refused to invite her in. I didn't even say a word to her. I just watched her face.
Please, I didn't know where else to go. You know I have no one else to depend on. We're best friends, remember?
The audacity to still call me her best friend was funny. I kept a straight face and asked what she wanted.
It's my husband, Lucy. He's been hitting me, yelling, controlling everything I do. I'm terrified of him, Lucy. I need to leave, but I have nowhere to go. Can I stay here for a while? Just until I figure things out? You'll do this for me, won't you? I know you won't leave me hanging. You're my best friend, and I'm yours. Best friends help each other.
A part of me recoiled at the sight of her tears, remembering all too well how she had dismissed mine. The humiliation she inflicted on me, the betrayal, and the sheer cruelty of throwing me out of her wedding came flooding back. I couldn't believe she was at my door, crying for help. How the tables turned.
I know I don't deserve it after everything I've done. But please, Lucy, I'm begging you, remember our friendship.
Our friendship? You humiliated me. You made me feel worthless. And now, after 2 years of silence, you think you can show up here and ask me for help?
Lucy, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I know I should have asked you to leave in a better way, but I need your help now. I don't have anyone else.
You're still so selfish. You didn't think about me when you threw me out of your wedding, Amanda. You didn't care about how I felt, so why should I care now? I don't owe you anything. Not my time, not my pity, and certainly not my help. Find someone else to cry to. She tried to beg, but I slammed the door on her face and went up to my room, going straight to bed. A person like Amanda doesn't deserve being in my thoughts. 2 days later, I overheard the news from a neighbor. Amanda had been in an accident. A car had run off the road in the storm and had hit her. The injuries were severe: a broken spine, shattered bones, and permanent paralysis in her right arm. She would never walk again. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same fate that she had humiliated me for, she now shared. But if anyone expected me to visit her, they were mistaken. I didn't go to the hospital, didn't send a card, and didn't ask how she was doing. Amanda was no longer my concern. She had burned that bridge, and I had no intention of rebuilding it. In the weeks that followed, I heard bits and pieces of updates from mutual acquaintances. Amanda's life was in shambles. Her husband had abandoned her after the accident, leaving her to deal with her injuries alone. She was living with a distant cousin who barely had the means to care for her. The cousin was busy working and often neglected Amanda, and since money was tight, Amanda was suffering. People asked me if I'd go see her. She was your best friend, they said. She's going through so much. I'd reply that she stopped being my best friend the moment she threw me out of her wedding and I didn't owe her anything. And I meant it. Amanda was a stranger to me now, just as she had treated me like one when I showed up at her wedding. Whatever pain she was enduring, it was her burden to carry, not mine. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.
Once, when I was 12, I came home with a B on a math test. I had studied hard too, but it wasn't enough. My father's voice echoed in my mind as he looked at the paper. "That's all you got? A B is for losers. You're supposed to be my son, and this is all you can manage? Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is?" After he was done berating me, I was sent to my room, where I stayed until morning. My mom would come in every now and then, looking at me like I was some kind of disappointment. Each time she came in, she called me a loser, and that she regretted ever giving birth to me. My heart broke more and more each time she came in. A few weeks later, I accidentally broke a plate while washing the dishes. My dad beat me so badly and then locked me in the basement for a day with no food or water. I had had enough. As I got older, I learned to live with it, to brace myself for the constant storms. But even then, a part of me longed for an escape, a way out of their toxic grip. People always said that family should come first. Blood is thicker than water and all that. But growing up, my parents were anything but a source of comfort. They were incredibly unstable and full of sharp, unexpected bursts of anger. And it really didn't take much to make them angry. Even as a kid, I knew something was wrong. Most of my friends' parents didn't yell at them for dropping a fork or spilling juice on the carpet. But my parents were different. They found every excuse to belittle me, to remind me that I wasn't good enough, that I'd never be anything. Every time I did the slightest thing wrong, they would scream at me and make me feel like a little bug. One evening stands out more vividly than others. I must have been 8 or 9. We were sitting around the dinner table, and I'd accidentally knocked over my glass of milk. The look my father gave me, cold and furious, sent a shiver down my spine. He slammed his fist on the table, making the plates rattle. "Do you ever do anything right, Scott? You're as clumsy as a damn elephant. I paid good money for that milk and you stupidly just spilled without a care in the world. I should take a belt to your hands and make you think twice next time." "I'm so sorry, Dad. I swear it won't happen again." "Please don't whip me!" My mom just sat there, lips pursed, like she always did. She was more of a silent accomplice, never sticking up for me, never stepping in. She'd let Dad do the yelling and just nod along, her gaze shifting away whenever I tried to catch her eye. That night, he thankfully didn't use his belt on me, but he made me scrub the floor until my hands were raw, calling me names the entire time. It wasn't the only time, not by a long shot. Once, when I was 12, I came home with a B on a math test. I had studied hard too, but it wasn't enough. My father's voice echoed in my mind as he looked at the paper. "That's all you got? A B is for losers. You're supposed to be my son, and this is all you can manage? Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is?" After he was done berating me, I was sent to my room, where I stayed until morning. My mom would come in every now and then, looking at me like I was some kind of disappointment. Each time she came in, she called me a loser, and that she regretted ever giving birth to me. My heart broke more and more each time she came in. A few weeks later, I accidentally broke a plate while washing the dishes. My dad beat me so badly and then locked me in the basement for a day with no food or water. I had had enough. As I got older, I learned to live with it, to brace myself for the constant storms. But even then, a part of me longed for an escape, a way out of their toxic grip. In my early 20s, I couldn't take their controlling behavior anymore. So one night, I escaped from home and went to my girlfriend's house. Her family welcomed me, and I explained everything to them.
Scott, you didn't deserve any of that. No one does. You're not a disappointment, and you're not a failure. You're a good person, and you deserve to be treated with respect.
I felt a lump rise in my throat, and I looked away, not wanting her to see the tears that had started to form. She reached out, gently touching my face, turning me back to her.
Listen to me. You don't owe them anything. You don't have to keep them in your life just because they're your parents. You have the right to protect yourself.
I wish it was that easy.
It can be. I'll help.
Her words hit me like a revelation. I had always felt like I had no choice, like I was obligated to endure their abuse because they were my family. But Claire was right. I didn't owe them anything. While staying at Claire's house, we began dating, and a year later, we got married. My parents, on the other hand, never even looked for me or filed a missing person report. They simply ignored the fact that I had escaped. Claire supported me every step of the way, always reminding me that I had the power to choose who I let into my life. But they didn't take it well. One day, my parents saw me on TV. I had become rich and successful, all thanks to Claire and her dad. Her dad had helped me become a successful realtor. As for my parents, they had made some investments that went horribly wrong. They were scammed out of hundreds of dollars by a fake investment company promising amazing returns, which left them broke. When they saw me, they suddenly remembered they had a son. Then, one day, after I hadn't spoken to them in years, they showed up at our doorstep unannounced. I opened the door, surprised and immediately tense. They didn't look happy.
Scott, what the hell is this? You think you can just ignore us after being successful?
Without being invited in, both my parents just marched past me into my house.
We're your parents. You need to take care of us now that you've done well for yourself.
Claire, who had been in the kitchen, came to my side, slipping her hand into mine.
I think it's time for you to leave. Scott doesn't owe you anything.
Who the hell do you think you are? This is none of your business.
It is my business. Scott is my husband, and I'm not going to stand by and let you treat him like this.
Scott, do you really want to throw your family away for this woman? Blood is thicker than water. Scott, you better put this beach in her place, or so help me, I'll make her eat her words.
I took a deep breath, my heart racing. I had always dreaded this moment, but now that it was here, I felt a strange sense of calm. Claire is my wife, and if you take a step towards her, I will protect her. Blood doesn't mean anything if there's no love or respect. I'm done. You don't get to treat me like this anymore. I think it would be best if you both left and didn't come back.
Oh, is that so? You think? Isn't that funny? The first thought that you ever had, that small empty head of yours, and it's one that will get you in trouble.
My father roared and charged towards Claire. It was obvious that he intended to attack her. I jumped in front of her and thrust my arms out, stopped him in his tracks, and then pushed him so hard that he tumbled backwards and slammed into the wall behind him. The force of it knocked the wind out of him, and he crumpled to the floor, trying to catch his breath. After a few minutes of staring tensely at each other, my mother finally helped my father to his feet, and they left furious and shouting insults as they walked away. I thought that would be the end of it, that they'd finally leave me alone. But I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, they kept trying to force their way back into my life. They'd show up at our house, leave nasty voicemails, even harass Claire on social media. It all came to a head one night when they showed up at our house again, banging on the door. I opened it, ready to tell them to leave, but my father shoved past me, barging into the living room.
You don't get to shut us out like this, Scott. We're your family, and you don't just get to walk away. That beach that you married has no right to take you away from us.
I felt a surge of anger, one that I'd kept buried for years. I wanted to hit him until my arms were too tired, but I kept my anger in check and tried to get him to leave by speaking to him. "Get out. You're not welcome here anymore or ever again."
You ungrateful little brat. We raised you, gave you everything, and this is how you repay us?
Enough. You've done nothing but hurt Scott his entire life. You have no right to be here. Now leave before we call the police and have you dragged out like the dogs that you are.
The police? Do you really think we are afraid of the police? Without a word, Claire picked up her phone and started dialing. I watched as my parents' faces fell, realizing she wasn't bluffing. My father made a move towards Claire, making it look like he was going to swipe the phone from her hands, but I cleared my throat and picked up a baseball bat that was near to the front door. As soon as he saw it, he stopped moving towards her and even took a step away from her. "Fine, call the cops. Let everyone see what a coward your husband is." "Say whatever you need to say, because the next time I see you, I won't hesitate to use this bat." Both my parents looked incredibly surprised and more than a little fearful. For a long time, they had always seen me as a defenseless child, but now they finally saw the strong and powerful adult that I had become. I didn't feel like a coward. For the first time in my life, I felt strong. I looked at my parents, seeing them for what they really were, two miserable people who only knew how to hurt others, and I knew I was done. The police arrived soon after, escorting my parents off the property. They tried to protest, yelling about how they were my family, how they had rights, but the officers were firm, telling them to leave and not come back. As they were led away, my father turned to look at me one last time. "You'll regret this, Scott. You're nothing without us." His face a mask of hatred. "No, Dad. That's where you are wrong. You are nothing without me. Without a victim to pick on, you feel powerless, and that scares the two of you more than anything else. I meant what I said. If you two come back, I will treat you like trespassers, and I will use every ounce of my strength to make sure that you walk away from the interaction bloody, or unable to walk away at all." I watched them go, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Claire slipped her hand into mine, giving it a reassuring squeeze.
You did the right thing. I know that was difficult for you.
"I know. Thank you for everything." We stood there in silence for a moment, watching as the police cars drove away, taking my parents with them. I knew they'd probably try to come back, to find some way to force themselves into my life again. But I also knew that I had the strength to stand up to them, to protect myself and the family I was building with Claire. Soon after, we filed for restraining orders against my parents and invested in a couple of firearms. The closest we ever had to come to using them, though, was the one time that my parents drove up into our driveway. I saw them and ran inside and grabbed my rifle and ran back outside. The second my parents saw the gun, they immediately ran back into their car and drove away so fast that they drove into a small tree. It didn't wreck their car, but it scraped the entire right side of their car and stripped all the paint off of it there. After that, we didn't see them again. We later heard that, because of their bad investments that left them broke, they borrowed money from some loan sharks. When they couldn't pay it back, they were both beaten horribly, and the men forced them to sell their house. So, my parents sold it, repaid the debt, and now rent a one-bedroom place in a terrible neighborhood. I'd spent so many years letting them control me, letting their words define who I was. But with Claire's help, I was strong enough to never let that happen again. I had chosen love, chosen respect, chosen the life I wanted for myself. And I knew, no matter what happened, I'd never let them take that away from me again. There are days when I wish I could go back in time and tell the younger version of me to just hold on, that there would be better days ahead, but I know that won't happen. Nope, instead, all I can do is thank God for bringing Claire into my life. Without her, I would still be lost. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.